Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Team Setu Little Scholars, I Samriti Singh, and my friend Divyangna Sirohi welcome you all to the closing ceremony of Birds in My Backyard workshop. Today's event will begin by an illuminating session by Season Watch. It is an India-wide program that studies the changing season by monitoring the seasonal cycles of flowering, fruiting, and leaf flush of common trees. I would now like to introduce our panelist, Ms. Geeta Ramaswamy, Ma'am, Program Manager for Season Watch NCF India. She has been a postdoctoral research associate with the Nature Conservation Foundation with an interest in invasive plants. Our second panelist, Ms. Swati Ma'am, is also a project associate Season Watch. Before this, she worked as a researcher in the forest of Western and Eastern Ghats. And I would also like to welcome our key resource mentors, Mr. Piyush Sheikh Saria sir and Mr. Raman Kumar sir, and a warm welcome to various schools and participating teams. Now I would request Geeta ma'am and Swati ma'am to enlighten us.
Thanks, Samriti. Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here and be talking to all of you enthusiastic students. So we have a little presentation. Is it okay to share our screen?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Okay, thanks. All right, so we'll dive right in. Thank you so much, Little Scholar School, for inviting us to speak to this very enthusiastic audience of students over here who are very concerned about the environment and how various things like climate change are affecting the environment. Swati and I today will be talking to you about how we can observe trees to understand more about our surrounding environment and how students like you are contributing lots of information to our program, which is Season Watch, and which helps us understand trees better and through trees, the climate better, right? So, firstly, there are living things all around us. The first photograph over here is that of a common crow butterfly. It's a butterfly, so it goes through a life cycle where it starts off as a caterpillar or larva, then it goes into a cocoon phase, and from that emerges a common crow butterfly. And sometimes if you're in peninsular India, very far away from where all of you are right now, you will also see seasonal migration of this butterfly, where large groups of common crow butterflies fly together in the same direction in the form of a seasonal migration. This second photograph over here is that of the pied cuckoo. This is in Hindi, it is known as the chatak bird, and it is usually associated with the coming of the monsoon. So in all folk stories, you will hear just before the monsoon set in that the chatak is calling. The last photograph over here is about a tree called the ghost tree or Sterculia urens. And this tree is very common in the large forests of India. And what it does is that it sheds its leaves environment is changing, because tree phenology especially is very well attuned to how the climate is also changing. And there is no other place better than the temperate latitudes, that is the northern latitudes of the world, to understand how trees are affected by the climate. So there is a growing season for trees in temperate latitudes. In winter, you would have seen on all kinds of things that you see on TV, that winter in the temperate latitudes is especially harsh. There's usually lots of ice and snow, and this is not good conditions for trees to grow. So after the winter gets over, with the onset of the spring season, is when trees put out buds. But these are not flower buds, these are leaf buds. So before the onset of the winter, in the fall season, when it's starting to become very cold, trees can anticipate this and they quickly shed off all their leaves so that they don't have to be burdened with supporting leaves and the growing of leaves through a very cold winter season. And as soon as the climate starts warming and spring season sets in, they put out new leaves. So the duration between when a temperate tree puts out new leaves and when they fall off is known as the growing season of trees in the temperate regions. And this is extremely sensitive to temperature. So with passing time, it's been observed that the spring season in these latitudes is actually setting earlier and earlier, and the fall season is setting in later and later. And this is because the overall global temperature is increasing and leads to changes in the seasons. But what does this do? So what if leaves come out earlier in plants or shed later in plants? Isn't that a good thing? It could be, except that the lives of many other animals are linked very intimately with when the leaves come out and when they are shed. So I'll give you a quick example from these same places. Where the species called the pedunculate oak puts out leaves as soon as spring season sets in. And the moth of the larvae or the caterpillar of the winter moth species are waiting there. They hatch out of their eggs and they start eating the newly emerged buds of pedunculate oak. And to eat these larvae, there are there are passerine birds, sparrow-like birds, which are waiting to eat these larvae in turn. But what is happening with climate change is that the pedunculate oak is putting out leaves much earlier than before, up to 10 days or 15 days before what was historically known. So in response, the winter moth larvae have started to hatch out earlier than usual, 15 days before. But these birds which were dependent on eating these larvae, they were supporting their own chicks by feeding them these larvae. They are nesting at the same time, and they haven't advanced their nesting time. So in fact, by the time that they start nesting and the fledglings come out, the winter moth larvae have already turned into the winter moth and flown away. So a small change in the phenology or the cyclical changes of leaf emergence in the pedunculate oak affects the phenology of the winter moth, and which in turn affects the nesting behavior of birds. So as you can see, it is really important to understand what time the trees put out leaves and flowers and fruits, because these are what other organisms are eating off of a tree. So this kind of understanding of trees it can't just emerge from 1 or 2 or 3 years of study. You need very, very long-term information on trees. And can you guess how old the oldest record of flowering in trees is? It's actually 1200 years old. So the Japanese cherry blossom tree, you might have all heard of it. It's a very beautiful tree, and when it flowers, there are no leaves, there are only pink blossoms. And people in Japan, in Kyoto, in Japan, have kept records of when this tree came into flower since 800 AD. And this is fantastic kind of information. Why? Because we can tell how the current climate and the change in the current climate is affecting things like flowering in trees, and how that is different from long back, long ago. So in this graph, don't worry about it. You just have to look at two things over here. Firstly, that from 800 AD to nearly 1900 AD, this is the pattern of flowering in this species. Flowering mostly occurred between 10th of April and 20th of April, right? But in the past 200 years, just in the past 200 years, flowering, the average amount of flowering has now started to happen between the 1st and the 10th of April instead of 10th and the 20th of April. So like I said in the earlier example, this small change in the timing of flowers, though it may not look very dramatic to humans because we are a long-lived species, but it can be life or death for many other smaller insect species, other smaller animals, which are dependent on the flower for their own livelihood. Now, this is a culturally important tree in Japan, and therefore there has been a lot of interest in documenting how flowers and fruits occur in this tree. Do we know of any similar examples from India? Sorry. And yes, we have several cultural references for when trees flower and fruit, even in India. And this is great because when we don't have 1200 years of information, which can be nicely put on a graph, then we can depend on people's memories for helping us develop this baseline for when trees flower and fruit and put out leaves. And I'll give you some examples from India. The first picture over here is the Amalthas tree. I'm sure you might have all seen this tree. It might be there in your school campus.
Yes,
It's
mom.
very beautiful. The yellow colored, sorry, hello? Yeah, so it has very beautiful yellow colored flowers and which hang like chandeliers, and it's a summer flower. You typically see it in May end and June in North India. Now, this tree in South India is associated with a festival in the state of Kerala called Vishu. So that is the new year, and the flowering of this tree is associated with the new year in Kerala. This second tree, this flower that you see is that of the palash or the flame of the forest tree. This is again a very common tree in the forests of India. And when this tree blooms, it really looks from far off like, it really looks like a flame in the forest, because the bright red colored flowers, they're very resplendent, and there's no leaves usually along with the flowers. So it looks like the tree's on fire actually. So this Palash tree is associated with the Holi festival in North India. In fact, many people even harvest these flowers and create a dye out of it to be used during Holi. This third species that you see also is a species that you might all be familiar with, is the neem tree. And in South India again, another festival, the Pongal festival, is associated with the flowering in neem tree. Now, Vishu, Holi, and Pongal are usually festivals that occur in a particular season in India, and usually are very well, linked to seasonal change that one can expect after this. So, if we observe that, traditionally these flowers come during this festival, but in recent times they're not coming during this festival, then there's a cause for concern, and we can investigate this further. And who's helping people across the world do this? It's citizen scientists. Citizen scientists are basically people who are not trained scientists. They are people going to school, going to colleges. They are people pursuing other kinds of vocations other than scientific research. But everyone is capable of collecting scientific data to understand a problem better. And citizen scientists from across the world are contributing all kinds of information in understanding our biological world better. So you are all here because you did a project on backyard birding, right? So that is also a very large scale citizen science project, and it's called eBird. And it's across the world that people make lists of birds in their backyards, and they or in places that they are traveling to, and they upload it to a large database. In the same way, even tree phenology, or the phenology of plants and how they change with seasons, is uploaded to all kinds of citizen science project databases across the world, and it occurs at very large scales, at the scales of countries, and it helps us understand how climate change is affecting phenology of plants. Now, to continue this talk further, I'll ask Swati to take over.
Thanks, Geeta. Okay, so this brings us to a citizen science project in India known as Season Watch. So, with Season Watch, people who are not scientists, like general public, so people like you, school students, as well as anybody who's interested, so individuals as well, are looking at trees in their backyards, in their school campuses, on roadsides, and then reporting what the trees are doing using our app or website, and sending this information into a common database that is maintained by Season Watch. So as you can see in the map on left, these are all the trees that at some point have been monitored with Season Watch, or are currently being monitored with Season Watch. So you see there are two colored balloons in the map, the red ones and yellow ones. So the red ones are trees that are watched by school children, and the yellow ones are trees that are watched by individual observers. So, season watch started in year 2010. So, this year we are turning 10 years old. And in these 10 years, season watch has accumulated over 4 lakh observations of trees in its database. So, these observations come from more than 88,000 trees, and these trees are being monitored by over 1100 individuals and over 1100 schools. So, like I mentioned, individuals and schools, they use our website, which is www.seasonwatch.in, or they use our app, which is available for Android phones and can be downloaded from Google Play. And using these tools, they submit the information to the database. Now, what it is that observers record, how do they watch the tree? So let's look at that with this example. So this is the palash tree that earlier Geeta also mentioned. She was talking about the flame of the forest tree. This is the one, this is that tree. So here you can see that this tree is covered in flowers, right? And it doesn't seem to be having any leaves or fruits at this stage. So first of all, as a season watcher, they look at the tree and then they note down which of the phenophases, so flowers, leaves, these are known as phenophases. So which of the phenophases are present in the tree? So here, let's do that. So there are currently, like I said, no leaves or fruits, but there are flowers, and there are on the tips of branches also flower buds. So there are flower buds and flowers present in the tree. So once we've done that, we've figured out which of these phenophases is present. The next step is to measure the phenophases that are present. So how do we measure that? So I invite you to compare the crown of this tree to a circle in this, like is given in the image, and then divide this circle into 3 equal parts. Now we have to count the number of parts in which the phenophase is present. So here we are counting flowers. So let's count the number of parts in which the phenophase is present. So it's present in all, if it was present in only one of these parts, we would record their quantity as few. But if it is present in more than one of the parts, which is the case here, it's present in all three, we record the quantity of measurement as many. So one is few and more than one is many. So let's look at how the data is entered onto the app. So on top, we have the name of the species, flame of the forest. We have an observation date when the tree was observed. And then we have icons for different phenophases. So we have leaves, fresh, mature, and old. We have flower, buds, and open flower. And then we have fruits, unripe fruit and ripe fruit. So here we do not see any fresh, mature, or old leaves. So all of those are marked as none. But we see many flower buds and we see many open flowers. Fruits, again, we do not see any unripe or ripe fruits. So those two are marked as none. Then we go ahead and we can save this observation using the same save button, and it gets uploaded to the Season Watch database. So, who are the users who send this observation? Like I mentioned, there are school students like you. These are most of our school participants come from Kerala. So these are students from a school in Kerala, and usually they are helped by their teacher to digitize the data that they are collecting, and the teacher uses a website or an app to upload the data. Individual participants, like the ones below, usually who have access to a mobile phone and internet use the app directly to upload the data. Where are our contributors based? So, like I said, it's an India wide project. So, we have contributors from across India, but the top four states, in terms of when we look at number of observations submitted by a contributor, come from first is Kerala, more than 300 observations per contributor, followed by Andhra Pradesh. Then, number three is Uttarakhand, and number four is Meghalaya. So Uttarakhand comes in top three, and that's a great news. So the species that are being observed by our different participants are actually, we have a list of more than 130 tree species. These are all common trees of India that are easily available, along roadsides and in people's neighborhoods. But the top four species, or the top four most beloved species of our season watchers, are jackfruit, mango, tamarind, and amla. And you would notice that all of them are loved for their fruits. So
Yeah,
clearly, you can see the bias in among our season watchers in terms of which trees they really want to observe. So now, what happens to the data that is collected? So these species are being observed, but once the data comes into the database, what it is that we can learn from it. So we'll take an example of mango phenology data to look at how the phenology of mango, that is flowering, fruiting, and presence or quantity of leaves, changes across the year from one week to another. So in this graph, you can see on the x-axis we have different weeks starting from 1st to 52nd in the year. And then on the y-axis, we have percentage of trees that were in that were showing that a particular phenophase. That is, they were having leaves, or they were having flowers or fruits. So you can see the top, the lightest gray line represents leaves. So you see that leaves are present in all the weeks across the year. Now let's look at flowers. Flowers show a very clear peak. So this kind of hump is where the flowering is peaking in the mango trees. So they show a peaking in the 13th week of the year, which is in March. And this flowering peak is followed very closely by peak in fruiting, which here in this data set is happening in April May time. Now April and May, you would think, is too early for mango trees to be fruiting, because in the north, we generally mangoes are available only later in the summer. But let me tell you, this data, most of it is collected by season watchers in Kerala. So the peak here in fruiting corresponds to the peak in fruiting in Kerala. So, but what's happening to mango trees in the rest of the country? So let's look at that now. When do mango trees fruit in the rest of the country? So here is data from four different events that were organized between December 2018 and September 2019. So, in the map, the gray dots represent all the trees that were seen during that event in that particular event, and the yellow highlighted dots are the fruiting trees. So you can see here that in December, the trees are fruiting only in Kerala. In the rest of the country, there is no fruiting happening. In March, the trees start, fruiting starts expanding to the rest of the country, and in June, most of the fruiting is reported. And by this time, trees in north as well as in central India and in Kerala are all fruiting. 3 months later, by September, fruiting in mangoes is mostly over, and just about 1% trees that are fruiting are restricted to Kerala. So with this mango data, we saw, how we can look at patterns in flowering and fruiting in mango species or any other tree species across a year, but also we can compare what's happening between different places. Now, let's look at one more example to see whether we can use this data to detect changes in flowering in trees. So, for this, we go back to Amaltas that Geeta was talking about earlier, and the festival of Vishu or the New Year festival in Kerala. So lately, people have been reporting that the flowers are not, the flowers actually are used in the celebration of the festival. So people go out of their homes, they find the trees that are flowering, they collect the flowers and they bring back these flowers to their homes, and then the flowers are used in the festivities of the New Year. But lately, people have been reporting that the flowers are not available during the time of the festival. So sometimes they have to, go and purchase the flowers in the market or use plastic flowers, something very unheard of in the earlier days. So we wanted to see what was going on. So what we did, we looked at the data which was collected by our citizen scientists in Kerala on flowering in Amaltas, and we made a graph of it. So in this graph, you can see that we plotted the data on percentage of trees that were in full bloom between 2015 and 2018. So you just notice that the trees are flowering to more some less or more extent across the year. There is some flowering going on, no matter how little. But yes, there is a peak in flowering. So you can see that hump shape that we talked about earlier. There is a peak in flowering, but but look at these red vertical lines. That is the week of the Vishu festival. So if you compare the peak with the red line, you see that the peak is happening just before the Vishu week, which means that indeed what people were reporting was correct, that flowers, they were finding fewer flowers in the week of their festival. But let me say also that this is only 4 years of data, and we, like Geeta mentioned, we need many, many, many years of data before we can really start to understand these patterns. So we hope that going forward we can have similar data for many more trees. So like Palash also, which is the flowers are used in Holi. People have been reporting that the Palash trees are also flowering earlier than they used to. So they're supposed to be in full bloom in Holi, but now there are reports of Palash trees flowering as early as December, January from parts of the country. So yes, one aspect of season watch is definitely to collect this kind of information on our trees, but the other equally important aspect is for people to get connected to the trees around them, for people to take an interest and be, enthusiastic to and appreciate trees that are around them. So, and we hope that especially for school students, to get out of their classrooms and look at trees, and by this way they can connect to nature that is in their own backyards. And indeed, season watchers report that they feel a special emotional bond with their trees. So students, they rejoice when their trees flower and fruit. They feel sad if their trees are damaged, and they are very curious about animals that live in their trees. Here, we leave you with this small poem written by one of our season watchers, and it very rightly captures the kind of gratitude we feel towards trees and for the gift of color and smell that we receive from them. So many colors, where are they hidden? So many smells, where are they hidden? Are they inside the earth? Now and then revealed by a spellwork of trees. Thank you all for listening. Season Watch is a collaboration between National Center for Biological Sciences, Wipro Foundation, and Nature Conservation Foundation. And we work in different states with the help of our local partners. So, Seed Matrabhumi in Kerala, State Center for Science, Technology, and Environment in Meghalaya, Foundation for Ecological Society in Andhra Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, and Keystone Foundation in Tamil Nadu. For more details, you can look up our website. You can also email us on sw@seasonwatch.in if you want to participate or if you have any questions. We will be happy to answer. If you have any questions now, we'll be happy to take those questions as well. Thank you so much for listening.
On behalf of Team Setu, Little Scholars, I would like to thank Geeta ma'am and Swati ma'am for such an informative session and telling us about things like phenology of trees, how to record their observations, and making us feel even more close to our nature earth. Team Setu feels immense pleasure to announce that our next workshop will be conducted by an extension of Eco Club of Little Scholars named Climate Crew in collaboration with the Season Watch under the guidance of Mr. Piyush Seksaria, Sir, Disaster Risk Management Specialist, and Mr. Raman Kumar Sir from Nature Science tentatively after Children's Day. The final dates will be intimated soon.
We'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone has about Season Watch or trees or interactions between trees and animals.
Um, thank you, Geeta. Thank you, Swati. This is Piyusha, and I have two questions, and I'm sure the children will also come up with questions after I ask. One is that, can you give us an idea of the age group of children involved in Season Watch? You talked to children in different states, Meghalaya, Uttarakhand, Kerala, and
Yeah.
Andhra Pradesh. So that is question number one.
Yeah.
And question number two is that for both of you, do you have a favorite tree and a favorite memory of that tree? Thank you.
Thanks, Piyush, for that question. Yes, typically across the different states, school students from 6th to 8th standard participate in Season Watch. But 6th standard onwards, I mean, up till 12th, anyone can participate. And because this is also open for adults, it's not like you have to stop when you are in 12th standard. You can continue doing it even when you're in college, when you're much more grown up than that as well. About my favorite tree, actually my favorite tree is also amalthas. Just, you know, it's such a delight looking at an amalthas tree in full bloom. It's like especially in North India, when it blooms during the peak of summer, and when the rest of the landscape is very dreary, very hot. It's such a delight to see a tree in the other name for amalthas is golden showers. So it's a literal golden shower of flowers that happens on an amalthas tree. So it's really lovely to watch this tree in the summer. Maybe Swati wants to talk about her favorite tree.
Yeah, so I have quite a few actually, but one of my most favorite trees is Simal, which is Bombax Siba, which puts out these lovely, huge, bright red flowers, and it's like a big tree also. So in winter time, it sheds its leaves, and then it has these beautiful large red flowers, and many birds they come on these flowers. So it's a delight to just sit under a seamal tree when it's flowering. But I'm so glad you asked me that question, because the moment you asked me that question, I thought, yes, I have a memory that I would like to share, and it is of this, from my childhood from my childhood a memory of peepal tree. So there was this huge, very, very big peepal tree in my grandparents' house, which is right in the center of their, the courtyard. And it used to cover the entire courtyard. And I remember as, it's probably the first tree. I learned its name. We used to use the leaves and play with the leaves. We would tie, because it has these long tips. The leaves have these long tips. We used to tie the tips of the leaves, and then we would make, we call them cooling shades. So we'll, make like, yeah, so we'll make these, goggles or cooling shades with people leaves. And we spend in June, it gets so hot. So we would spend so much of our time just playing under the trees. So yeah, that is my most favorite memory of a tree. Thanks for that question.
Thank you so much. Children, teachers, please feel free to ask questions, or if you have a favorite tree and a favorite memory, please share. We have some time. We have 15 minutes, so let's take advantage of that. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. This is Ananya. I just have a question. If we want to start recording the phenology of a tree, or how does the transition take place, uh, like what would be more observant, a flowering tree or a fruiting tree, or just a tree with the leaves? What could be good if I want my students to record?
Okay, so if you want to record it for season watch, we recommend that you so before you start observing a tree, you have to register it with season watch, and it's basically a registration process is very simple. You just give it a name and you record its location. The tree that we recommend you record is an adult tree. An adult tree basically will show all three phases. An adult tree will show leaves, it will also show flowers and fruits when the season is correct. So once a tree is adult, it will always show all these three phases: leaves, flowers, and fruits. So it's best to register an adult tree.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
Now I would like to welcome our key resource persons, Mr. Piyush Seksaria, sir, Disaster Risk Management Specialist and Geographer by profession, and Mr. Raman Kumar, sir, from Nature Science Initiative, and request them to kindly take over.
Thanks, Divangana. I actually would would suggest that we wait for a little longer and just check if there are some other students or teachers who have questions for Geeta and Swati. We are supposed to start the second session only at 4:30. And I know that all the students here are very curious and talkative. So I'm sure some of them have some questions or want to share their favorite tree, their favorite memory. Thank you.
Actually, we can. Okay, I have a question for students over here. If you all have access to the chat box, because everyone's feeling shy to speak, can you just write down the name of your favorite tree in the chat box, and so that Swati and I can have a look? Or favorite flower, favorite plant. Nobody has favorite plants?
Hello.
Yeah,
Gulmohar.
mango.
Anyone else? Someone says banana tree. Buranch. Oh, very nice. Woodpecker Rashi. Uh, Woodpecker Rashi, do you want to talk about your Buranch tree? Can you unmute yourself and tell us what you like about the Buranch tree?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. The Buddha's tree is a red flowering tree.
Mm-hmm.
It is found in mountain areas, hilly areas.
Right. So what about, do you like the flowers? Do you like the things that you get from the flowers? Like I've heard that the buraj flower can be made into sharbat. Do you like
Yes,
that?
ma'am. Sharbat
Okay,
and flowers, leaves, and all the things of that
I
whole
see.
tree.
Nice.
How about no one's mentioned the box myrtle? I'm forgetting the name from like the Hindi name or the one used in Uttarakhand. So Raman, if you
Kafal.
kafal, yes. So no one likes kafal because I mean those fruits are really tasty, right? So if you, I'm sure if you have one around your school, you'll all be going to the tree when it fruits and fighting for the fruits.
There is one student, Siddhant, who has said that his favorite tree is Semal. Siddhant, you
Uh,
about it?
Siddhant says that he also likes the silk cotton tree.
yeah.
Do you want to tell us what you like about this tree, Siddhant?
Hello.
Hi, yes, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. So there are two big trees around our lodge. It's the sable tree. So it's they are very big. My one wish is that I want to climb it, but I can't because getting dry every year. That's why. And yeah.
So did you observe this tree when you were doing your bird project also? Did lots of birds come to this tree?
No, it's not in my home. It's in my lodge. So I come. Not. It's not. I didn't. I can't see it every day because I come every month or like that.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So many people like the Gulmohar tree. Does anyone know where Gulmohar is originally from? Does everyone think that Gulmohar is an Indian tree? Do you think it's found, it's in a tree that was originally from India? You can type in the chat box if you think that Gulmohar is an Indian tree. Anyone? Ah. Any other people who think that Gulmohar is from India? No one else? Ah, someone says no. Okay. Okay. Looks like it's a mixed response.
By the way, what is Gulmohar tree called there? Do you call it, I mean, do you know it by the name of Gulmohar or by some other name? So, very interestingly, buttressing of Gulmohar is very beautiful.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayflower, someone
Mayflower.
says. Yes.
Nice.
So it's a very interesting tree that, you know, in different places it is named by different months. So in Meghalaya, it's known as April flower tree. But in Karnataka, it's known as Mayflower tree. And I'm very surprised that in Uttarakhand also it's known as Mayflower tree. So thanks for that, Manya.
So, Heron Hershey Rajput has sent me a private message with the correct answer about Gulmohar. Hershey, do you want to unmute yourself and tell everyone the correct answer about Gulmohar and where it's from?
Ma'am, according to me, it was firstly found in Madagascar.
Right, yeah. Actually, it's originally from Madagascar and it's been planted across India as this avenue tree. And that's because it's big and like Sonal said that it has nice big buttressing roots and it grows really big. It provides a lot of shade. So that's why you see Gulmohar all across avenues in India. There are many trees actually on Indian avenues that you'll find they're actually not from India. There's another tree called the rain tree. That's also not from India, but it's used extensively to give shade to roads because they grow really big. They have umbrella-like canopies, and so they really are good at shading the hot black tar roads. Oh, Rashi says it's the world's beautiful flower tree. Do you mean the Gulmohar tree? Yeah, it has a very beautiful flower. How many of you have used the Gulmohar flower parts to make fake nails. We used to do that when we were in school. You know, if you pluck the sepals of the flower, you can put it on your fingers and it makes fake nails. Has anyone done that here? No? Okay.
So one
So
of you
all of you, are you all stuck at home or do you get to go outdoors? And if you're all stuck at home, can you see a tree outside your window? Do you have a tree outside your window that you can look at every day?
Yes, ma'am.
What tree can you see? Do you know the name of the tree that you can see?
Ma'am, mango tree.
Oh, is that also your favorite tree?
Yes, ma'am.
Nice. So does it give fruits that you can eat or does it not have very good fruits?
Ma'am, it gives.
Okay. Nice. That's very nice. Any other trees that people can see outside the windows?
Amla tree and Kaner flower tree.
Oh, nice. Kaner with the, so if you pluck the flower, it has that milky
Yellow
thing
flowers.
that comes out.
Yellow flowers.
Yellow flowers. Right, right.
Ma'am, lychee tree.
Oh, you have a lychee tree. So nice. How lucky. Do you get to eat the fruits of the lychee?
Yes, ma'am.
That's so nice.
Guava tree. And
Oh,
ma'am, we have
guavas.
guava tree also.
That's nice. So do lots of birds come to your guava tree when the guava is fruiting?
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
see bulbuls and... Oh, nice. That's nice.
Giloy berry.
Mama
Ma'am,
Shop.
we have pear tree also.
Pear tree?
Ma'am, blackberry tree.
Blackberry? Oh, is it a tree or is it a bush? Is it a small plant or is it a big tree?
Ma'am, there is a tree of jamuns.
Ah, yeah. Okay. So are you calling jamun blackberry?
Ma'am, we have a bush of blackberries also and jamun also.
Okay, okay, okay. That's nice. So have you noticed? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Ma'am, mango, eucalyptus, and lychee tree.
Oh, nice.
Papaya tree.
So, sorry?
Ma'am,
Papaya.
and Ashok tree also.
Ashok tree. Okay, very nice. So
Eucalyptus.
somebody said they have a eucalyptus tree outside their window. Does
Ma'am,
eucalyptus tree get flowers and fruits?
yes,
You
ma'am. I have
see?
also.
Okay, that's nice.
Ma'am, it's a very tall tree.
That's right. Yeah, it grows very tall.
And its stem is of white color.
Right.
And it is not at all strongest tree.
Oh, does it fall over when it's windy?
Yes, if there is a ma'am, our one eucalyptus tree falls due to the heavy winds.
Okay. Hmm. So I'm sure you all know that eucalyptus tree is not from India, right? I'm sure you are. I mean,
Yes,
maybe your
ma'am.
teachers have already told you. Yeah. Where is it from? Do you know where it's from? Okay,
No,
so
ma'am.
actually only one or two species of eucalyptus are planted in India. But if you go to where it's found originally in Australia, there are many, 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 many species. And here you will see like trees with white bark. And in Australia, there are even species which have rainbow colored bark, like multiple colors on the same bark. So, yeah, it's a very interesting
That's
tree.
nice.
Ananya ma'am, if
Yes,
children don't
sir.
have any if children don't have any more questions, or Geeta and Sidhu, you don't have sorry, Geeta and Swati, if you don't have any more questions for the children, should we move on to the next session?
So, as Geeta ma'am and Swati ma'am suggests, ma'am,
Yes, sure. We can
Yes,
move to
please
the
go
next
ahead. Yeah.
session. Yeah.
thank you
Thanks,
so much,
Piyush.
ma'am.
Yeah.
On behalf of Team Setu 2020 Little Scholars, I would like to thank Geeta ma'am and Swati ma'am for such an informative session and telling us about things like phenology of trees, how to record our observations, and making us feel even more close to our Mother Nature. Team Setu feels immense pleasure to announce that our next workshop will be conducted by an extension of Eco Club of Little Scholars named Climate Crew in collaboration with Season Watch under the guidance of Mr. Piyush Saria, Disaster Risk Management Specialist, and Mr. Raman Kumar Sir from Nature Science tentatively after Children's Day. The final dates will be intimated.
Now I would like to welcome our key resource persons, Mr. Piyush Seksaria sir, Disaster Risk Management Specialist, Architect and Geographer by profession, and Mr. Raman Kumar sir from the Nature Science Initiative, and request them to kindly take over.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Swati and Geeta for this wonderful session on season watch and trees and flowers and leaves and fruits. I think it was a really interesting discussion, and I'm sure everybody here, including the teachers and children, including me, are quite keen on now starting to observe trees. Uh, we had a wonderful 2 weeks on the theme of birding in the backyard. Um, I'm not sure. Is Raman here? Raman, can you unmute and say hi if you're here? Okay. Maybe Raman has not joined as yet, and he may join as we go along. So first of all, I think um, that this is really amazing that Setu was able to organize this activity in this lockdown condition where all the children are from home, schools are connecting to children online. So I think firstly, I would like to congratulate and really appreciate the effort that Setu put together for this activity. Then I would like to thank Raman who gave this wonderful talk, uh, Sir, Sir Per Pair, which basically would translate to head, wings, and feet, mainly in Hindi, but also some English on the second as an introduction to this activity. 9 teams from 7 schools registered, totally 39 children and 9 teachers. We had one teacher mentor for every group. And I understand that this was despite the fact that some schools are actually having exams, there are delays in the curriculum, and of course, there are lots of challenges in connecting with children. So I really appreciate this effort on part of schools, children, and teachers. Finally, in what I received in terms of submissions, I mainly received submissions from 4 teams, which involved 20 children from 3 schools. I'm sure there are other children and other teams that also undertook work, but for some reason I haven't received them. So please forgive me in case I don't mention any of your names or there's anything missing in terms of evaluation. Now, before I continue with the details, I would like everybody here, all the children who participated, to maybe use the chat box and tell me on a score of 5 how much they enjoyed the activity. Honest feedback. So if you enjoyed it a lot, it's 5. If you enjoyed it, it was okay. You can say 3, and if you didn't really enjoy it, you can even say 0. Okay, I can see lots of 5 on 5s. This is little worrisome. Getting 100% marks and never got 100% marks in my school or college time ever. Somebody has given me 6 on 5. Oh my God. Okay, wonderful. So I think everybody enjoyed this activity. We can assume that. Um, in the 4 activities that we undertook, So the first activity was bird list, second was bird bingo, third was bird art, and fourth was bird sculpture. Let me also tell you that bird bingo and bird art were basically um, from early bird, and Ananya ma'am has just corrected me. There are actually 5 teams that submitted, with one team submitting entries only for 2 activities. So I'm sorry, but I think for some reason I have assessed 4 teams. In any case, this is not some kind of major competition. This is just a fun activity. So I want to ask all the participants between the 4 activities, which is bird list activity 1, bird bingo activity 2, bird art activity 3, and bird sculpture activity 4, which is the activity you like most. So you will answer 1, 2, 3, or 4 based on which activity you like the most. Please use the chat box. Okay. Manya says, okay, there's one for bird list, one for bird sculpture, bird list, sculpture and list, sculpture, 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 sculpture and art, list, all activities. Thank you very much. Okay, wonderful. So it seems like sculpture is probably the most enjoyed activity.
Yes, sir.
And of
Yes,
course,
sir.
then there are lots of people who liked art. There are lots also who like lists. Okay, so tell me one thing. I discovered this problem only after we did the session, but are all your sculptures in shape or have they started disintegrating?
Sir, in shape.
Sir,
Sir,
in
it's still
shape.
in shape.
Sir,
Yes,
in shape.
Okay, very
Sure,
nice.
sir, but in the sculpture, the watercolors are not sir applying.
Saying, okay, okay. So let me tell you, I think now I know the reason, and when you all make it in the future, you all can take care of this. See, we mixed 1 part of salt and 2 parts of flour, right? And what I realized is that now where I am in Pune, it has suddenly started raining a lot. And because of this increase in moisture, the sculptures actually, they had started hardening, but the salt has captured this moisture. And now the sculptures have like started bending and breaking, and they become very wet. So maybe the next time when you make sculpture at home using flour or atta, you should take a little bit of water. I would say if you take three cups of atta, don't take more than 1 cup of water, and that mix will give you something which is good enough for making sculpture. Use a little bit of oil or ghee so that it's not sticky, but don't make it too wet. Great. So it's great to know that all of you have more or less, you all have your sculptures in shape, and that you all really enjoy that activity. To be honest, I also enjoyed the sculpture activity the most. It's actually the first time that I'm doing this, and I must be honest and say that because I had to do some interesting activity for all of you, I kind of read up a bit on the internet and I tried to understand what I could do, and I figured out this word sculpture activity. And now, after I put it on social media, I have a lot of friends who are telling me that they want to do it. Okay, so let's proceed. I'm sure you all are also awaiting what the results look like. So I'll just quickly summarize. We first had this talk on the 2nd. Then on the 3rd, we did the first session, birding in my backyard, and we started work on 3 activities. Then 10th, which is last Saturday, we did birding in my backyard session 2, where we basically discussed how it was all going for you all, and we made a bird sculpture live. And today we are going to close with citations. Okay. So let me first start with special mentions. So Raman sir kindly agreed to go through all the entries and choose 3 entries that he found really interesting, not in necessarily a very organized manner, but just in terms of what appealed to him. So the special mention, the first special mention goes to Manya for this beautiful bird list that you've made. The important thing here
Thank
for
you, sir.
everybody, congratulations, Manya. That's very nice. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Um, so, what I think even I and Raman both liked in this is that see the focus of our activity was not to make the longest list in terms of 30 birds or 40 birds. The focus was that we observe what the birds were doing, what time of the day we saw them, what were their key features, were they feeding. So in that sense, this list prepared by Manya is really nice. It's a good example of how you all should keep looking out for birds, observe the birds closely to identify them, but also observe what they are doing, which time of the day it is, and so on. Is this the second special mention? Yeah. Now, all of you have actually done wonderful work. So please don't go by that only this person has done good work and hence he or she has got a special mention. It's just that we are trying to use this as a way of showing some examples of what we thought were interesting. So this drawing of the red wattle lapwing done by, is it Yashvita? Yashita. Is it Yashita? Yes, I think it's Yashita. From the team Bulbul, and this is Shemford School. So wonderful artwork, Yashita. And what I really liked and what Raman also really liked is that
Thank you, sir.
you really captured the details very well of the bird. Its overall posture, its kind of presence in the grassland or in the open land. So this is a really nice drawing. Of course, like I said, everybody has done really nice work. There are lots of people who've done very nice work. So this is not to mean that others have not done good work. It is just that we had to choose one, and hence this is one of the favorite ones as far as Raman is concerned. Can we move on, please? Okay. This is a wonderful sculpture of a woodpecker. We know that this is from the Woodpecker Chowni School, but we are not sure who the student is. So whoever has made this, can you please?
Rashi.
Is this Rashi?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So wonderful, Rashi. Very nice work. You really captured the details of the crest, its very prominent beak, the color pattern, and also the body form. Woodpeckers are very interesting birds. And I must also say that Raman may have also chosen this because he really loves woodpeckers. He does some fantastic work on woodpeckers in Uttarakhand. And I don't know if you all know, but not just in India or Asia, but in the entire world, the largest woodpecker is found in Uttarakhand. The largest woodpecker in the world is found in Uttarakhand. And I don't know if you all can imagine, but the woodpecker length is 51 centimeters. Okay. So if you take the scale that you use in school, it's almost 1.5 times that length. It's actually more than 1.5 times that length. So it's a really large woodpecker. It's called the Great Slaty. And Raman sir works on the Great Slaty. He also works on other woodpeckers. And this is a beautiful sculpture. There are also some other very nice sculptures. But this, I think, stands out for really being representative of the bird. Very nice coloring. So these are 3 special mentions, which Raman has taken the time to go through all your entries and identify. So congratulations to all these 3 special mentions. And let's continue. Okay. So I just thought I'll explain how I tried to judge. It wasn't easy, but basically for activity 1 and 2, that is bird lists and bird bingo, importance was given to the description rather than the numbers. So what this means is that there may be students who have seen a very large number of birds or have seen large number of activity as part of bingo, but there was greater importance given to how descriptive you were or how observant you were when you were doing this activity. And for activity 3 and 4, which is bird art and bird sculpture, importance was given to the semblance to the species, how it resembled the species, and the level of detail, right? So obviously, when you're judging like this, it's always a big challenge, because it's not easy to choose which is one and which is two, or which is better than the other. But one does this. So please, the ones who have not made it to the top two should not feel that their work was not up to the mark. The results were like really close. There was like difference of, in some cases, half a point. In some cases, like maybe 2 points at most. So really close. All the entries were really close. Okay. Now, before I go on to the results, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the work that I identified to discuss what I liked about the work. So, if you look at the activity bird bingo, I haven't chosen anything in bird lists. There was one that Raman had chosen. So, for example, in this activity on the left, I'm not sure who has done it. What I
Sir,
really like, yes, who's made this list
Sir
of bird bingo?
Arnav Agarwal.
Arnav, very nice, really nicely done. So here you can see that Arnav has written the name of the bird, pigeon, and then under the various activities of bird bingo, he has identified certain things that he has seen. So he has heard the call of the pigeon. He has seen a feather, and he has seen a pigeon dropping. And you will agree that probably the pigeon dropping is something the most common that we all see, including sometimes on our head. How many people have had a pigeon dropping on their head? Can you all put your hands up?
Sir, not on the head, sir, but on the bike.
On the bike.
Sir,
Okay, yes.
sir, actually on the bicycle.
On the bicycle.
My
Very good.
bicycle, when I am going to ride my bicycle, it just dropped. So that time I only see the bird dropping.
Yes, in the chat box. I don't see any answers in the chat box. Nobody has had a problem with the pigeon poop or any other bird poop. Okay, so Kingfisher Divyansh tells me that yes, he has suffered pigeon poop. Very nice. Anybody else? On the car from Parth. Okay. That's it, huh? Nobody else has suffered bird droppings.
Sir, suffered, sir, but it's dropped on my head. Oh, sir, actually on my hand.
Yeah, so that happens sometimes, right? When we are all like, we've taken a bath and we're ready to go to school in the smartest clothes, and then this bird is flying over and it poops on us. This has happened to me a few times. It's not very
Sir, actually it is very annoying.
yeah, it's very annoying. It can be smelly, and friends around us laugh at us, and you don't know what to do. You just want to disappear. Okay, very nice. Wonderful. So similarly, black kite is a bird that he has seen in flight, and he's also seen its nest, which is very nice. And so on. So what I really liked about this bird bingo list is that it combines the species. So it's also like a bird list, and it is a bird bingo list, bird activity list. So this is a really nice way of documenting this. And this is what I really liked here in this activity. And in the second illustration that you have here, who has made this? Is it Rashi?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I really liked about this particular one is that Rashi has taken some nice effort to redraw the bingo. And in the process, she has actually captured a lot of the birds very well. So I can make out some of the birds when I see them. This is the black drongo, this is a robin, this is the cattle egret, this is bird poo or bird dropping. This is a prinia, this is a bee eater. So, very nicely drawn. So I really like that, which is why I chose this one just to show you all. Okay. Now let's move to the next slide. Now, the beauty of bird art is that this again was an early bird activity which I had shared with you all. And what I really liked about these three, there are also others that are very nice, but I've just chosen three to discuss. Uh, who's made the green beater on the left? Is it Manya?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very nice. And the Indian roller in the middle?
Sir Rashi.
Rashi, okay. And the black drongo is again Rashi? On the right, who's made the black drongo? That also seems to be Rashi. So are there two Rashis, Rashi Pandey and Rashi Garg?
Sir, Indian roller Rashi Pandey.
Okay. And black drongo is Rashi Garg. Anyway,
Yes.
doesn't matter. So all three are very nice drawings. What I liked is that you have been able to capture certain details of the bird, the overall form. And I think what is most interesting or useful to remember is that while we are trying to draw birds or make sculptures of birds, even if the final result doesn't look good, it doesn't matter, because in the process of trying to do that, you have really observed the bird and you've tried to understand how it looks, whether it's a long bird or a short bird, a curved beak, long tail, what are the colors. So that is really the learning. So as your interest in birds grow, and all of you seem to be wonderful artists, you all should take time and try and draw some of the birds you're seeing. You can use references in the form of the posters that I sent you, or you may also find other references on the internet. And when schools open and normalize, we'll make sure that you all receive a small pocket field guide for the birds of Uttarakhand, with which you can watch birds, and you can also draw them, observe them. Okay. Um, Now, this is the bird sculpture. We, of course, saw a very nice sculpture in the form of the woodpecker. And there are two sculptures here. What I liked about them, I'll tell you. So one is on the left. Um, I'm sorry, I don't know who's made these sculptures. So the person who's made the sculpture on the left and the person who's made the sculpture on the right, please unmute and introduce yourself.
Right, Rashi Pandey.
Right is Rashi Pandey. Okay, the one on the left.
And the left one is Siddharth Ghosh. It's stock-billed kingfisher.
Very nice. So very nice, Siddhant. So what I liked about is that one, he has chosen a bird which is probably not very common. So he has referred to some bird book or some image on the internet. That's very nice. You've done some research. And second, what I really liked is that he's been able to capture certain features like the color of the beak, which is red, the color on the head, which is brown. And he has actually gone ahead, cut some paper, colored it blue, and added it to the sculpture. So he has given another element to the sculpture. And that is the beauty of sculptures. You can add things to them. So for example, we've used toothpicks or matchsticks to connect one body part to the other. And here Siddhant is using some paper and sticking it or fixing it on the sculpture to add to the value of the sculpture. So this is a very nice detail. I really like this sculpture. And the sculpture on the right hand side of the golden oriole is also very beautiful. The proportions are very nice. And what I really liked also is that Rashi has added a certain element of interest to the sculpture in the form of some food in the beak. Right? So from that perspective, you've added a certain element to the sculpture. And what I would like both Siddhant and Rashi is to explain a little how you all went about making the sculpture, why you chose this bird, and how you came upon these ideas to maybe add certain elements to them. Siddhant, will you go first?
What's it?
Can you tell us why you chose this particular bird and how you got this idea of adding paper feathers and the paper tail and coloring it?
Sir, because I saw it behind my house, and I didn't have the colors for the wings and the this thing tail, so I made it from paper.
Okay, very nice. And Rashi?
तो आई थिंक दैट इट्स माउथ इज खाली खाली ऐसा हो रहा था उसकी वजह से उसके मुंह में.
Okay, okay, very nice, very nice. Okay, so we are almost, you could say, towards the end of my PowerPoint, and I'm going to soon announce the winners. But before I do that, please use the chat box and tell me how many of you would like to continue. So my question is, you all please use the chat box. What is, would you all like to continue some activities on birds? Okay. So use the chat box to say yes, not sure, and no. These are the three choices you have. Okay, we have one yes. Is anybody, if anybody is not sure, please don't hesitate. Or if somebody says, oh my God, this is a boring activity, I don't want to do any more of this, you can also say no. There's no compulsion. And I must apologize for the fifth team whose entries I haven't really seen properly. I got a little confused, I think, between whether the fifth team was actually submitting or not. But anyway, I think the important thing is that you all have participated despite difficult conditions, and I really appreciate that. Okay, wonderful. So I think maybe 15 people have responded saying yes. I'm assuming the others. So on the whole, it seems like people have said yes. Okay, wonderful. So Pranjali, I think you were one person who also submitted a number of entries, 2 paintings, 2 sculptures. Really a lot of enthusiasm. Thanks for that. Please continue. Now, one more thing I want to ask you all is that you all of you have seen birds, you have made lists. Now, do you have a particular bird which you really liked a lot? Please use the chat box to write.
Sir, sorry.
Yes, please. Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I'm saying that. Sir, can you please repeat what you're saying just right now?
So what I would like you all to do is to use the chat box and tell me that which is the bird you like the most from this activity. Now you have seen some birds, you've observed their behavior, you've identified them. So which bird from this list that you have seen in the last 2 weeks you like the most? Okay, so Vansh likes the rose-winged parakeet. Very nice. Pranjali, the Indian roller. For Rashi from Team Bulbul, it's the black drongo. For Ansh, it's the green bee-eater. For Harshi, it's the sparrow. For Gurmil, it's the myna. For Rashi Pandey, it's the Indian roller called Neelkant. Very good. Beautiful name it has. For Arnav, it's the rose-ringed parakeet and the red-whiskered bulbul. For Neetu, it's the red-ringed parakeet. So it's the rose-ringed parakeet, Neetu. It's got a ring around its neck, which is rose in color. It's called the rose-winged parakeet. For Manya, it's the myna. Oh, very nice. For Divyansh, it's the red wattle lapwing and cattle egret. So very interesting. Both of these birds are birds of the open grassland and close to water. Okay, for Prachi, it's red-whiskered bulbul. For Yashita, it's the rose-ringed parakeet. Okay, very nice. So Rajiv is a kingfisher. Rajiv, do you know which kingfisher? The different varieties that I'm sure you find in Kashipur or where you live. One of the kingfishers that you see most commonly is called the white-throated kingfisher. It's a handsome kingfisher. It's the most common. You are probably talking of that. Anybody else? Oh, thank you, Sonalji. Yes, it was a wonderful. It's been wonderful work from all students. To be really honest with you, all students, I was really doubtful of how we would do this online, um, because it's such an outdoor thing where we have to go out and see things and observe them. We use binoculars. Sometimes we also use cameras. We have field guides. We take notes. um, and so I'm really impressed. I must say that I'm really impressed with all the schools, the teachers, and most of all the children who've done a wonderful job. I'm very impressed. Okay, anybody else who's got favorite birds that they want to share? Okay, for Harshi, it's Maina. Okay, great. So I can see that you all have really picked up the names, and you all are able to now give full names of some of these birds, and you observe them. White-throated kingfisher for Rajiv. And what I would like to do before I continue is to invite the teacher mentors who are a part of today's discussion to share what your experience was of this activity and how you found the students' work. So I request the teacher mentors to speak. I know a few by name, but I'm not sure whether I have everybody's names here. Ananya ma'am, maybe if there are no other teachers who are around, then maybe you could share your experience.
Okay, sir, it was very interesting. Actually, we knew the common names of the birds, but for example, parakeet. Is it called a rose-ringed parakeet? It is something I just got to know after the session, and especially the most interesting one was the bird sculpture activity. Though mine didn't actually stand for long. I think the dough was too wet. I tried it. That is why I couldn't even send you the pic because it did not stand only. So, but overall, sir, the session was very, very interesting. We were involved throughout, and yes, uh, we actually enjoyed this 2 weeks, and we hope that we continue doing the same. We do not just end it here. I would request that we continue with this, and under your guidance, we would like to have take this further.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That is like music to my ears that you all would like to continue. They can give the joy. Are there any students that want to come in and share how they found this whole exercise, what they like?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
so I enjoyed just doing these activities. From these, I came to know about so many different species of birds, which just enhance our knowledge toward these God-made birds.
Wonderful.
So I enjoyed these activities a lot as we get to learn more about nature, which is a good habit. We should know about the nature and we should engage more in knowing our nature, which is a good thing.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else?
Sir, I basically like all the activities, sir. Sir, but my favorite one is the bird sculptures. Sir, but at the first, the bird sculpture, I am unable to make the sculpture of the bird. But at the second try, I think that it's the better sculpture than the first one.
Wonderful. Very good. So did you make a slightly more dry mix of flour? How did you manage the second one better?
Sir, actually, uh, actually, in the second time, the gundawa atta is not so wet.
Hmm.
So how I sir, so that's how I able to bird stand.
And did you make it yourself or you asked somebody at home to make it for you?
No, sir. Sir, myself only.
Wonderful. Very nice. So you also learned to make bird sculpture and you learned how to make atta, both wet and dry.
Yes, sir.
Very nice.
Sir,
Anybody else?
but I didn't understand how to color that bird because when I'm coloring, the color is so bad that the that actually the real color of the art is showing, not the color we did. I did it on it.
Okay. So the suggestion for that is that first you should just give it a white coat and actually let it dry a little bit. So what happens is that if you give the white coat, then that becomes a base coat, and then when you apply color, whatever color it may be, blue, red, yellow, that color will stand out better. So that day we didn't have so much time, but if you notice, I was showing you how we can first give it a white coat, let it dry a bit, and then give the color coat. Okay,
Okay,
wonderful.
sir. Thank you so much, sir, for suggesting this
Right.
one.
Anybody else?
Sir, I really enjoyed all the activities, but my favorite was first activity, bird list.
Okay, wonderful. Did you?
Sir, by these activities, I was able to know about the environment in which we are living and the birds around us.
Right. Did you all use the posters that we had sent? Did you all use the posters to identify birds?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very nice.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. Are there any teachers who are now online and would like to share their experience? So I think we are now going to move towards closing this session. So I'm sure all of you are eagerly awaiting to know who the two winning teams are. Before I announce the results, let me once again tell you that it was extremely difficult to choose winning entries. And actually, if you ask me, I feel that whenever I do such an exercise, there is some degree of unfairness because I always feel that everybody should win. But well, you know how it is. So please don't feel disheartened if your team is not in the winning team. Like I said, the difference between the first and the fourth teams in terms of marking is just like 3-4 points, and all the teams are like really close one to the other. So this is very subjective, and you should not feel disheartened that your team didn't win. All of you have done a wonderful job. So, congratulations, Team Woodpecker. I think your school is called Chowni, and very good work. Congratulations. So, everybody can give a round of claps for Team Woodpecker. Very nice. Is there somebody from Team Woodpecker here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, Rashi Pandey.
Very nice. So, Rashi, congratulations to you and your entire team, and also to your teacher. Very nice work. And like I said, again, for everybody, you shouldn't feel disheartened if you haven't won the first or the second position. All of you did a wonderful job. Okay. And now for the winner of this, it's Team Dove from Little Scholars. Congratulations, clap everybody for Team Dove.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
So is somebody from Team Doves here? Is a teacher there?
So Babita ma'am is the teacher from Team Dove.
Oh, unfortunately, your voice is not coming through. Congratulations, Babita ma'am. Congratulations to all the participants. Anybody from the participants would like to speak?
Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
so
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, actually, it's unbelievable for me that our team is got the rank one.
No, you all did a wonderful job. In a sense, everybody did a wonderful job. You all did a little better than the others. So,
Thank
congratulations.
you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Siddhant, your signal seems to be weak, but we could hear you as if you were half asleep. But we got the message. Okay, wonderful. So, with this, I end today's presentation, and we had a discussion with Ananya ma'am, and we will soon be announcing one more activity. But what I would like all of you to do in the meantime is to continue to watch birds, make lists, draw them, make sculpture when you have time, uh, and use your time, use your free time. Sometimes when you're working and you're looking out of the window, you can also see birds. When I was a school, when I was in school, I remember I actually wrote an article for a magazine which was called Bird Watching in School. And I must tell you very honestly that what I would do is I fortunately had a window next to, I had a seat next to the window. And during some of the more boring lectures, I would start looking out of the window, and there used to be a different bird life, including a black-throated kingfisher, a shrike, pond herons, sparrows, and so on. And I would observe them. Okay, I'm not saying that you all should do that at the expense of your classes, but sometimes, when things are getting a little boring, it's nice to see something interesting and colorful outside. And I'd written a little piece called Birdwatching in School, which was published in a magazine called Cub while I was in school. So it was very exciting to be doing that. So birds can really liven up your life. And there's so much to learn. They help by studying birds. It also helps you in your studies, not just in, say, botany or zoology or sciences, but also in all other subjects. When you're reading about birds, when you're writing about birds, it improves your language. It improves your sense of observation, the sense of color. You, of course, become far more aware of your surroundings. And before I end, I'm going to narrate a very short story to you all, which is an actual story, and it goes back to my school days. Okay, and with that, um, we'll we'll end. So just give me 5 minutes for this story. The school bell was ringing, but somehow I couldn't move my eyes. Actually, not just my eyes, I couldn't move myself. I was looking in the sky. There was a bird. It was absolutely still. I couldn't take my eyes off this bird that was absolutely still in the sky. And then all of a sudden it fell like a stone at top speed. I said, "Oh my God, what has happened to it? Has somebody shot it? What happened?" And it fell down on the ground. I ran towards it, and as I got very close, suddenly it moved, and with some awkwardness, it flew a little and then just took off. I could notice that there was something in its claw. This sudden flying away woke me up.
Sir, actually your voice is very low.
Oh, I don't know. There's some problem, I think, with the
Sir, now
system.
it is clear.
Let me. Okay, let's try continuing. I'm sorry, the flow is going away because of this problem. But anyway, and as the bird flew away, I suddenly realized that I was all alone on the school playground. There was nobody around, and I wasn't even sure how much time I had overshot the break. So, forgetting about the bird, I turned around and ran to my class to find my teacher looking at me with a stern look. And looking at my dirty hands and feet, I couldn't even tell her that, "Ma'am, I got late because I'd gone to wash my hands in the bathroom." But fortunately, she just let me go quietly, giving me an angry look. I forgot about this. However, after a few years, when I started getting interested in birds and I was out bird watching with a bhaiya, he showed me a bird in the sky and I was transfixed again. It was still, it wasn't moving. And it suddenly reminded me of that incident from my childhood, which I had forgotten completely, of this bird that had fallen down dead and suddenly flown away with something in its claws. What bird was this? I asked. And he told me is the black-shouldered kite. A beautiful bird, not much larger than a crow, with bloodshot red eyes, a beautiful sharp curved bill, and most of all, this amazing capacity to hover, that is, to stay put in the sky without moving. And it does that by managing the winds with its wing and tail. And why does it do that? I wondered. And I soon understood. So, what this bird does is that it tries to identify its prey, which could be a mouse or a lizard on the ground, and it does not swoop down directly on it. It positions itself on top of it and manages to make itself still using its wings and its tail at the back such that it is vertically above its prey. And then, as the prey moves, it moves a bit to come again on top of the prey, coming closer to the ground. Finally, at a certain moment, when it is confident that it can catch that little mouse, it just drops down like a bomb would. And just before hitting the ground, it breaks its fall and catches the prey with its claws. There are very few birds in the world who can do this. It's called hovering. We have another small bird of prey called the kestrel, and you may have heard of the bird called the hummingbird, which we don't find in
Yes,
India,
sir.
but
Yes, sir.
we find South America, Central America, and North America, which can hover, which basically hovers in front of the flowers it wants to feed nectar from. So it doesn't really come and sit on the flower. It just hovers in front of the flower, puts its beak inside the flower and sips the nectar using its long tongue. But here you had a small bird of prey which did exactly this in the air, sometimes even like 100 meters up in the air, and flew and fell down like a stone. Now, this bird is actually fairly common. It's not a very rare bird, but it's just that we sometimes don't appreciate the things that are common in our life. So keep a lookout
Sir,
for
can
this
you
bird.
please tell the name of the bird?
It's called black-shouldered kite. Black-shouldered kite. And it has got some interesting names. For example, in Marathi, this bird is called kapshi. And it's called kapshi because it's got a cotton-like appearance. Kapas, or um, in Hindi we call it rui. In Marathi or in Hindi we also call it kapas. So kapshi is a
Please
name that
repeat what it said in Hindi.
well, so I don't know its Hindi name, but in Marathi it's called kapshi. Um, because it's got this cotton-like appearance. And if I'm not mistaken, in Hindi it's called kumud, which comes from its beautiful red eyes. Um, so, but you remember the name as black-shouldered kite. It's a, if you do a search on the internet, you will find this bird. It may also be there in the posters I've given you, and keep a lookout for it. You may not see it hovering. That is probably a bit of luck, but you will often see it. You will often see it sitting on wires in open grasslands or next to the roads. And the interesting thing about this bird is that its wings, when it folds its wings, the wings are longer than the tail. So you can't see the tail. You'll see the wings going at the back. And that is partly because it's got this very interesting wings to manage this hovering habit of it. So, well, this is a small memory of birds from the time I was in school. And I'm sure the more you observe birds, whether at home or in school or when you're out, you will also develop lovely memories of birds. And with this, I would like to thank all of you, all the teachers, the schools, Setu, and most of all the children for such enthusiastic participation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir,
Thank
for
you so
telling
much,
the
sir.
story.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for putting this very nice activity, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Piyush sir and Raman sir, for mentoring the participants, providing them a platform to connect to the nature and encouraging them to bring out the best in them. Congratulations to all. The e-certificates of the winners as well as the participants will be sent on the official email IDs of the respective school. Team Setu thanks our panelists, resource persons, guest schools, mentors, and participating teams for gracing the event with their presence. It was a pleasure to have you all with us. We'll meet again for the next workshop scheduled after Children's Day. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye. See you all
Thank
soon.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye bye. Bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you so much for.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Welcome. Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Bye, sir.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, sir.